Hi, Dr. P here, to talk about winning and losing and what they mean in contemporary games, because I think the meaning or intent has changed quite a bit. Traditionally, losing was part of playing games, but today we minimize the competition in schools for anything and in games. We try to avoid negative feelings of any sort in games. Now, game studies people, who are usually academics, have often assumed that everyone plays a game to win, which may have been close to 2 centuries ago, but is not true now. I'd suspect there was more betting on games centuries ago than there is now, so winning was more important. Nowadays, game playing, especially on the tabletop, is strongly social and often casual. There are also many, many more games for more than 2 players, or only 1 player in video, than in the distant past. If you go back far enough, games for more than 2 were almost always card games or race games, not typical board games. So for most of history, games have been about 2 fundamentals: winning or losing, or just enjoying the play. Serious games, quote unquote, and betting games are more the former, about winning and losing. Party and family games are more the latter, about enjoying the play. A lot of people think they like Monopoly because it's a good game, but what they remember fondly is being together with their family. The game itself is a dog. But let's see how the evolution of video games has changed this. First, you had arcade games, and you can't win an arcade game. It's designed for you to lose in a fairly short time, yet give you incentive so that you can see your progress, so that you'll put more money in the machine and try again. In that way, a player can gain mastery but will always fail in the end. When someone finally went through all 255 levels of Pac-Man without losing a single life, many years after it was originally released, the software crashed. The game wasn't meant to be finished. Then we had the advent of home video games. In video games you play at home, you've already paid for the game, and there's no reason to make it hard for you. Further, if you haven't paid for the game, that is, it's a free-to-play game, if the designer makes it hard, then many players will quit. And if they quit, then they don't spend money on the microtransactions. So you have to make F2P easy, enticing with rewards, so that players will play long enough to spend some money on the in-game transactions. Now, consider losing versus failure. At some point, losing transformed in some circles into any feeling of failure. Quoting from a 2007 article, "Losing for the Win, Defeat and Failure in Gaming" by Ben Schneider. Quote, "At my first job in the industry, working in the single-player department at the now-defunct Stainless Steel Studios, we were strictly forbidden to create scenarios with anything even vaguely resembling defeat or loss in the storylines." Forbidden to create scenarios with anything even vaguely resembling defeat or loss in the storylines. Of course, many video games are much more experiences than opposed games. You experience something you cannot or would not do in real life. It's a story, not a game. And losing becomes irrelevant, if not downright undesirable. Any negative consequences are avoided by the designers. Role-playing games, such as Dungeons & Dragons, are an epitome of story in games. Even there, the GM can set up a situation and let players write their own story, or he/she can impose their story on the game and the players. Over time, the former has become much less common and the latter much more common. There are still game segments where winning and losing is important. For example, professional Magic the Gathering, war games to a lesser extent, but much less commonly than in the past. Thank you for listening.